the computer. I'll ask you to do that. And I'm going to share my screen. Share screen. And so welcome everyone to, let's close that, and to Find a Resource, RT Action 8. This is a fantastic resource therapy action, really useful for us. Play from present. Let's have a look, just get this right. There we go. To help our clients find the best part of them in order to have the best part of them out on deck in the right amount and that suits the occasion and situation. So it's a really fascinating, really easy action to help our clients connect with and even develop sometimes that part of themselves, to perhaps do presentations like I am now, I'm in a calm state, perhaps to enjoy activities or perform, or to even therapists themselves finding, sometimes I find therapists got the wrong part out in therapy. And quite often this is achieved in the empowerment phase, to find a nurturing part in the relief action of that empowerment phase. And we could use it to find a protector, a nurturer, or a wise state, a decision-making state, you name it. Anything that perhaps evaded or retro state might have taken over from. Once you've done the evaded state work and once you've done the retro state work if necessary, then you can find a resource. So, and how do you find a resource? Quite simply, it's 2 questions. And the 2 questions are, how do you want to act and how do you want to feel in the particular situation? So classic example, there's a lot of people out there with social anxiety. Generally, that's going to be a state evaded in fear or rejection, most generally rejection, say, and you've gone back, you've bridged, you've done the empowerment protocol, expression removal relief, and that wherever that childhood evading has happened, that evaded state is returned to the normal condition. And then you can find a resource that can go into new situations, can handle an adult mature part. So yesterday I was working with someone and they were in a football stadium, and evaded state was out because they were very nervous, they felt exposed. They are the emotions of evaded state that don't fit the circumstance, which is a real cue actually that you've got evaded state, because he was in his professional role there to do work, and instead he felt really nervous and anxious and exposed. And the more people that came in, the more exposed he was. That we bridged, and that was resolved. Invaded state work was the empowerment phase. Turned out it was to do with the group situation in school. Very common, those situations. And therefore the next part of that is to find out how he wants to deal in that situation in the future. How does he want to feel on the inside and act on the outside, and the behavior that fits with how he's wanting to be presenting himself. So the next thing we do is, of course, Vivify specific. So the reason we ask these questions, and you can sort of tailor these questions to what's required. So if it's, we might need a decision-making part, or someone that can handle a work situation, dealing with presentations in front of the boss. How do you coming from your wisest self, how would the wisest person be able to handle this? And how would you be feeling? I'd be feeling comfortable within myself, voicing myself really clearly. Then once we've found out these, I'm writing these down, feeling on the inside and acting on the outside, then we vivify specific and get a name for that state. Okay, so And the Vivify specific RT action 2 is one of the most used actions in resource therapy. And that is how we get the resources and resource therapy terms, our part, that personality part, out on deck into the conscious, so we can work with it directly, or in the case of bridging or initial sensitizing event. In this case, we want it out on deck in the conscious so we can talk to it. And the key is, whenever you're talking to a part, is to use present tense language and evocative imagery, engaging all those 5 senses in the Vivify process. It's a really simple, fun thing. So after your clients described exactly how they want to be feeling and thinking, that's calm, confident, being able to say, relaxed, friendly, you vivify one time that this was happening. So quite often it wouldn't be a workplace situation, but say, for instance, that client I was working with the other day, and I said, well, I was out with my mates, I was feeling really good, I felt really comfortable. So just give me one time when you're out with your mates, you're feeling really comfortable, and go to that one specific time. So where were you? Oh, I was at the cafe, you know, I was drinking coffee, could smell the coffee. It's about mid-morning. I can see my mate. Yeah, we're just talking right now using presentation. Yeah, it feels really good. And as the client's describing what they're seeing, feeling, sensing in the present tense, you've got the right state out on deck. And I'd say, wow, this part that's talking right now, that's really comfortable. There you are talking to your friend John, and John, you know, it sounds like you are really good at being in the present moment, being social, being friendly, confident, all the client's desired feelings and how they want to behave. What can I call you as you're feeling confident, able to voice yourself as you're in this experience right now, being with your friend? And they might give you a name like social. Now, this can be either done with your eyes closed or open. I think closing the eyes is a really useful way to help zero into that experience. And once you've got the name, say social, thank you for talking with me. And I circle that in my notes. Social, you're a great part of John, and you're really needed right now. And would you be willing to help John in social situations where he's meeting new people, because you seem to know what to do, and that we ask the other part to volunteer if it will. Of course, we hope it says yes. Most often it does. If it doesn't, then you might need to go a step further, and that is with describing the qualities required. So I've never done that, might be your answer from a client, perhaps, if they haven't got a lot of social experience. So who do you know? Or what are the qualities that someone who would be doing that from an adult, mature part? Yeah, and as they're describing those qualities, what can I call this part that seems to know a lot of what's required here? You know, that someone's friendly, they're smiling, they're showing up. What can I call you? And ask that part, you know, strong, would you like to volunteer to take over in those situations, perhaps where the previously evaded state had been coming out on deck? And then you can also do anchoring, which is a fabulous opportunity. I'll probably show that in the demonstration as well, to help bring that part out on deck. Other options, it could be a person they admire, a movie star, not an movie star there, a role model, cartoon character, Marvel character, or even yourself as the therapist, if they've got a relationship and they like you and admire you. That might be another alternative there. Yeah. So that's really as simple as it is. It's kind of a two-step process, asking those questions. How do you want to feel in this particular situation? And we're going for usually an adult state. And I might even layer that in, you know, an adult mature state. And then we vivify. That is find a resource action. That's as simple as it is, really. Any questions, Simon or Ben?
I just got one question where I can see where you're looking for the appropriate part to, you know, do an action or be the one that's on deck when, you know, you got that presentation to give, or, you know, you walk into a party or whatever. Okay, so, but what if you're looking for that part to be like a bringer of solace, really, to something like, okay, so, and you know from a couple of examples that I've used in other supervision sessions that, you know, say like if there's a really wounded part there that is not, you know, doesn't feel safe or loved or whatever, and there's a lot of trauma there, and the person, you know, self-love and self-acceptance and things are really difficult with this particular individual, and you're looking for something that maybe can do, you know, extend a bit of you know, tender loving care to the self.
A foreign concept perhaps for our clients that have really had
where you could get that part that even says, when you ask, are you willing to do this, and they say like, no.
That's fine. At least you know. That's a good start.
They don't deserve it, kind of thing, you know. Right.
There's some more work to do, and that's probably a protector part, a retro stage, if you like. But yeah, so actually that happened to me when I first began training. I did a Vivify specific process. And with a group of 20, I don't recommend you do that, by the way. That's the thing when you're first training, you do amazing, silly things you wouldn't. And of course, there was one person in the group, like, you know, finding a happy moment experience, couldn't do it, which is really like finding a resource that put a smile on their face. They just didn't have that. And looking back, I'm pretty sure this person would probably have complex PTSD. A good thing to do is ask your client that's struggling with that, do they like animals? Yeah. Puppies?
I'm thinking about someone in particular, but yeah, I'm not sure that they do, but anyway.
An animal.
Yeah.
And so one thing that you could do there is, if you saw a kitten or a puppy, and whatever it was alone, it was frightened, and it needed to be comforted and cared for. So I'm laying that in. This is really the find relief action, actually, in the empowerment phase. We're really, How would you want to help that little kitten or puppy, because you did feel a connection to it, you loved it, and you perhaps wanted to give it unconditional love because it was an innocent creature, right? Okay. Oh, you know, and how your client will respond will tell you whether that's going to be. And if you be your client, what might they say? So I'd go, you know, Simon, if you saw a little kitten and they were meowing and they were afraid and they looked all alone and you know, shaking with fear, how would you want to comfort that little kitten, Simon, if you felt a connection for it and you liked this little kitten and wanted to help it?
Yeah, I'd try and I'd want to pick it up and comfort it, but it might be a bit scared. And so I might try and coax it with a bit of cream or something to eat or something. Let it trust me.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah. Okay. And because this is your imagination, it's this kitten's going to let you pick it up. It's got no claws. And
it's going to trust me, and then I'll pick it up. Yeah.
And just as you're picking it up, this part that can do that will want to pick it up, look after it, take care of it. And really, I can hear such a gentle, really acceptance of this little kitten. Even if it was really frightened, you wouldn't want to frighten it. Yeah, you sound very loving and caring and very kind. What can I call you, this part that knows how to care in this way? What can I call you?
Gentle.
Oh, I love that name, Gentle. Thank you, Gentle, for talking to me. Gentle, because you could help kittens and stuff, I'm wondering, would you be willing, Gentle, to help when there are parts not feeling so good that would need perhaps a bit of cream and a cuddle, yeah, and just a bit of soothing, and to be held and supported unconditionally, because all children deserve unconditional love, don't they, Gentle?
They do.
I knew you'd know that, Gentle.
Cats. No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily, I know, but yeah, the truth is,
no, it's true. It's true. No, I feel that. That's actually quite good. And I made that. The client I'm talking about is one that we've talked about in supervision.
Yeah.
And that client does in fact have a cat. I know they've got a cat.
Well, that's what saved me in that group, was I knew this person had a cat, and I said, just imagine the cat's on your lap right now and stroking it. I might even use that, because you know what, how soothing is it to stroke the cat? It's actually a two-way. Dogs and cats feel empathy and give it as well. There's some research reading. Yeah.
That was interesting. Yeah, because I actually read, so I thought about the name Gentle, because I actually, I did feel quite caring, even towards cats, which surprises me. But
so, and Gentle, if you were to see one of Simon's little fragile parts and they were feeling alone and afraid, Gentle, how would you want to help that little one? You want to grab him, cuddle him? What would you want to do, Gentle?
Oh, I'm just making them feel safe.
Nice, perfect. And if there's any part that it needs to feel safe, Gentle, just come and join with Gentle right now. And if it's in the relief phase of the empowerment phase, I'll often go, Gentle, do you mind just giving a hug? Yeah, actually, Simon, just wrap your arms around just right now. Gentle. Wow. And as you do this, just allow that unconditional love. Everyone that's ever been born deserves just to be born. It's all you need to do. And letting that flow into every cell and fiber, being gentle. How good is that to give? Nice. And the part that's receiving that part, how are you feeling? I didn't even really get a part out, but
no, we didn't. And I'm thinking about my client, because
I'm just
we've mentioned this client, and this client won't do this.
Don't have to.
No, will not do it.
I might even get someone to hold their hands, but I would sort of encourage you. I just encourage you, because everyone and the brain can't tell the difference between someone else hugging us and ourselves hugging us.
I know. I actually said that to this client.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what their response was, because this is being recorded.
No, thank you. But I mean, if that's not, that's okay.
Yeah, no, there's just not that buy into it in that sense. But it's interesting, because we did go looking for a new caring part, if you recall, right? And what they actually found was an adult part, and it wasn't a younger parentified part. It was a current part, an adult. And when I asked them about what would they do if they saw a child or something in distress, and the response was actually surprised me, which was I would comfort them, and then they added was there's only one thing to do, which was to comfort.
Oh, see, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And you've got a name for that part. You can get that part. And quite often I've had clients, and we're talking more about the relief phase here of finding a resource that can offer support to a little part of ourselves that needs, because we need our adult mature parts to take care of our little parts, with lots of hugs and unconditional love. And they'll often already have that there after each session. I remember one gentleman I was working with, and he had a part called fatherly, and Father, I could see the shift, because Father, I've got him. I've got him. I'm with him. He's all right now. Yeah, from the little part. It's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, look at that, Ben. Scott, oh my goodness. I mean, who couldn't fall in love with that little cutesy? What's their name, Ben?
This one's Tutu.
Tutu.
Tutu, yeah. This is my youngest daughter's puppy.
Oh, we'll see. I mean, if you have animals in the therapy room, but just the imagination is so powerful. Even just imagining stroking a cat or seeing a dog, I wouldn't just be careful on that. That's not one of a deceased pet. That's the other thing, just to be a bit more mindful. Yeah, thanks, Simon. Great. I really appreciated that. Any other questions? Perhaps yeah.
The thought that occurs to me is just the way you did that reminds me of Kristen Neff's work in self-compassion, self-compassion therapy type thing.
Okay, I don't know.
The way that you like there's an exercise where it goes like, imagine if whatever happened to you happened to your friend. Like, so that's the sort of scenario, and then you set up where you deliver compassion or care or nurturing to the friend. And the way that you did the exercise with Simon, then it just made me feel and think that, yeah, there's an object that, or a part of nature or whatever it could be, or a friend, whoever, you can try and put that in front of a person. Because more often than not, I'm thinking about some of my clients where they have difficulty accessing kindness and self-love and that. I really enjoyed that demonstration. The way you sort of set up, I suppose, the roles, the two roles, the object of care and the care outside of the person's normal, I suppose, identity. I just found that really, really helpful, seeing that demonstrated.
Thank you, Ben. And I really like your idea too, to use a friend, because the part that's describing how they would take care of their friend, that's the part that can do the compassion, if we're talking compassion, or loving and caring. I wouldn't use self-love with my clients so much. I like self-care. And that's not, and I love that. Just them describing how they would care, because they're often very caring people who've been, let's say, compromised by their caregivers in situations from childhood, really caring. Thanks, Ben. And but that's more in the relief. So, but find a resource action can be for anything. It can be for decision making. It's really useful once you've dealt with PTSD type of stuff, to be able to recognize who's safe in your environment, things like that. Wise parts that can even help the parts decide who's the best part to be out on deck. And then, say, for instance, with gentle, we're going back to you, Simon, gentle, I might make a suggestion there, gentle, and the more practice you get, the more powerful and loving you become. So it's, and I might suggest that the client, just at any moment they feel a bit fragile, just send gentle in there on the inside. And I might even give a loving movement like that, there, which is actually where your vagus nerve runs down. It's a very supportive thing to do, comforting. Yeah. So the find resource action is a really easy and helpful thing. I've used it. One of my clients I hadn't seen for about a year, actually, and we'd done some work, they're a domestic violence survivor, and she had to go to court. Now, that's never going to be an easy situation to have to deal with the abuser. And we vivified a part, and I can't even remember what the part was called. And then we anchored it with an animal, which is the dolphin. She sent me a picture of the dolphin. And a year later, I met up with her and I said, "Oh, how did you go?" "Oh, yeah, I've still got the dolphin anytime I need to." Yes. And that was really helpful to her as she eventually went back into the relationship, got back out again, as the nature of sometimes trauma bonds are. And she's drawing upon a dolphin. And we also had to deal with some PTSD type things as well. She was experiencing seeing a particular vehicle that would give her quite a physical reaction. We bridged to where that was. Of course, that was a not so long ago event where she was traumatized by this person, and we processed that. And then we, you know, we find a part that can be driving, especially say, for instance, in road rage or something, that can just be like a passenger in the seat, just paying attention, especially if people struggle with being a passenger. And actually, that's some of the work I did for myself after a car accident.
With this particular skill, RT Action 8, I'm thinking about clients that might have flashbacks and they're not yet necessarily ready to process, or I don't have the skills yet to do the deeper RT work yet. But I wonder, can one use this particular action to give them access to a needed resource, like without having to give relief around, so like without having to create relief for the part that's giving the flashbacks, for example? Can you?
You definitely can. However, it won't stick, because when that part is triggered with the flashbacks, and the emotion will always trump the survival mechanism. Until that's kind of processed and resolved, the fine resource, it might be there, but then the other part will just kind of gate crash and take over the trigger situations. It depends on the client. For some it might be, you know, and if they're that flashback, I doubt that won't, but it would help at least to have that in your back pocket for when you do have the processing. And I would suggest for those of us that are working with complex PTSD or DID, even just front loading those type of parts, the nurturer, the protector, and a wise part. I literally had someone in last week, and he said, I don't know anyone that's wise. I'm not wise. I just don't know that stuff. You know, I'm struggling with my drug addiction. We're working through that. So I was front loading, and I said, anyone in your life that you would consider wise? And he went, oh yeah. And it was my uncle. And oh yeah, he's really good with people, and he's really understanding, and he doesn't react, and he's funny, and he's got it going on. I really respect him. Right, wow. And this part that's describing your uncle there, that seems, those are good qualities, aren't they? You seem to know what he's doing, and your uncle there, he's respecting, and he's just being with people, and he's using humor, and he's not taking things personally. Sometimes I'll add in a little, couple of good things there. Yeah. He said, yeah. I said, oh, can I call you? And I think we came up with Understanding, or something like that was the name. Understanding, thank you. Understanding, yeah, because you can draw upon those qualities, and the more practice you get using these qualities, understanding, just like your uncle, he didn't learn that overnight, but he's certainly learned it. You can see him and even watch him a bit more now because he's still around, this person. Understanding, would you be willing to help this, Mark go forward in situations that might require understanding and wisdom and some decision making about what your values are and what you're wanting in your life moving forward? Yeah, I can do that, and that's going to be a ongoing thing that I would suggest the client just connect with as well. Once it's not a one-off thing. Sometimes, like nurturing, they're going to have to practice that. One woman I worked with recently, her 9-year-old, I said, right, 9, let's play. And she went, I don't know how to do that. The 9-year-old not know how to play. 7 days in school. I mean, this is a 9-year-old part I'm saying, and she was a 35-year-old woman, say. That's pretty sad. So I said, guess what, 9, she's got some adult parts that are going to take you around and show you, and you can figure out what you like to do and enjoy doing that feels good to you. Yeah.
I remember in when we were doing the foundation course about yourself and Chris mentioning that often there, particularly with adult parts, they can tend to, sort of learn new skills, basically.
Yeah.
So if you're like your client who, has a substance use problem or something, says, I don't know anybody that's wise, but can recognize those qualities in somebody else. And in recognizing their qualities, they're actually demonstrating that there is a part there that knows what's going on, but doesn't necessarily do it 100% all the time. But so potentially, am I right in thinking you can sort of like try to get the closest match you can and have that identify the things that it would be great to do more of.
Yeah. And
sort of build that, keep bringing that part back and, just get it to sort of, practice and be stronger.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. The part that's kind of closest to match.
Yeah. The best match sort of thing.
And that you're so right. The part that's describing it has a clue. It's not clueless. It's saying, oh, these are what I imagine. And that part that's describing them, you then get that name for it. And
but you'd focus that if you'd want to be comfortable that was a very much an adult part. Yeah,
it's required. Yeah, decision making, I wouldn't put in a little parts.
Yeah,
lap. Yeah. And you'll kind of know. And I remember, and this is kind of relating, a demonstration I was doing, and this beautiful therapist, we bridged to a time when that it was about a lizard phobia, surprisingly. And this lizard, when she was quite young, had dropped on her head because she lived in a country where there were lizards kind of lying around and obviously in roofs. And that was pretty frightening. I would be frightened by that. And it wasn't handled that well. Anyway, and so we did the work around that. It was fated in fear because this thing came out of nowhere, and she resolved that by stepping on it in her imagination. And not that she was particularly violent, not at all. And then when I went to find a relief part, which in the empowerment phase, if you saw a little girl that was feeling shocked and frightened, how would you want to help her? This part that answered said, well, I just tell her to toughen up. Which is, and I went, oh, okay, wow. I said, you sound like a great part. I'm not quite looking for that part, because I'm thinking little 8-year-olds, they probably need some more comfort, soothing from an adult part of us that would just be kind of being able to be with emotion and hold that space. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I said, this part called itself tough. Not surprising. I said, you're amazing, but I'm looking for another part. And then we spoke to another part. Said, yeah, I could do that. What can I call you? Soft, thank you. And do that. Then, of course, we needed to find a resource for when she did see blizzards that would take over and just adult present day. And so we vivified that imagery, because that's how I bridged from the imagery of these little skittery things, when because they do look a bit reptile, snaky like lizards. And because her phobia was so bad she couldn't even see a picture of them. That's it. And so we went back to the original image that we started with from the bridge, and seeing how did she want to feel on the inside and act on the outside. She said she just wanted to be not bothered seeing these little salamander lizard things, because they were harmless. And she said, just me. I said, what can I call you? Me. And I said, me. And then we just have the imagery check. Oh, you're walking along and there's these things, and me, that feels good. And then this person went back, and interesting enough, their partner at the time trialed it because they could not believe. And she said, I don't feel a thing. They came back to day 2 of the foundation going, wow, this is incredible, because I've had this for so many years, 30 years or so. It's quite incredible. And meh was the right part that could just kind of adult present day safe part. That could even be a good, just part, a safe part. If you had stuck, I just sort of like from the work of Robin Shapiro. Yeah, how's that? I'm going to stop. Thank you everyone for listening. Hopefully you are interested in resource therapy. Check out resourcetherapy.com.au. We have training programs. Love to share our parts therapy with you. It's amazing. I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.